Hello students, today we are going to study about the arrival and expansion of British in India. British East India Company came to India in 1600. It was a company set up by a group of private merchants and Queen Elizabeth gave them the charter to trade with the South Asian countries. Charter mean the permission. So the permission was given by Queen Elizabeth. East India Company, they wanted to trade in Indian spices. Now look at the reasons why East India Company came to India. They came to India in order to trade. The first reason was to have trade links with the Indians. India was considered the golden sparrow. It was an area rich in spices and raw material. India had certain raw material that the rest of the world did not have, like spices, cotton, sugar, silk, and jute. And the British, they had great regard for these raw material, as they had recently undergone the Industrial Revolution and wished to expand their industries. Another reason was the presence of Portuguese and Dutch in this field. Portuguese and Dutch, they were already in the spice trade. They turned their attention to Indonesia. Indonesia at that time was known as Spice Island. And British, they were left with only one option to come towards India for the trade. India, it also had great importance because of its location, because of its geography. India has remained very important from the point of strategic view. It has clear routes to Russia, Middle East, and Eastern countries. The company's first contact with India came in 1608 when an English explorer, William Hawkins, sailed to the court of the Mughal Emperor Jahangir in Agra. Trade relations were established, but they were not very smooth. In 1617, another Englishman, Sir Thomas Raw, was sent to the Mughal court as an ambassador. His main task was to arrange a treaty that would give the company the right to trade freely in India. In 1664, the British Parliament decided to give the East India Company official status. This made it a powerful body answerable only to the King of England. The company now had its own army, which is used to protect its interest in India. They also started dealing in their own currency and stopped paying the tax. These steps annoyed Aurangzeb and he had a war against East India Company in 1703. In the war, Aurangzeb won against the East India Company. The English traders had to face opposition from other European nations as well, such as French and Dutch. Both these nations had also set up trading companies with India. The rivalry became a cause for arming themselves against each other. Trading stations such as Surat, Madras, and Bombay were fortified, and local sepoys were trained as a defensive measure. However, British under the leadership of Robert Clive won against French as well as the Indians. The famous Battle of Plassey in 1757 marked the beginning of British rule in Bengal. After Battle of Plassey, British kept on invading the areas one after the other. Their next target was Buxar. After Battle of Plassey in 1757, the British fought Battle of Buxar in 1764 against Mir Qasim, Shah Alam and Shujauddaulah. In 1782, British defeated the ruler of Mysore, Hyder Ali. After Hyder Ali, his son Tipu Sultan came to the throne and gave British a tough time. However, he was killed by British in 1799. EIC had become strong enough to make treaties and agreements with the Indian rulers. Lord Wellesley introduced the policy of subsidiary alliance in 1798 to bring princely states under the control of the British. In this system, an Indian ruler had to maintain British troops in his state, either by giving some of his territories or by paying for the maintenance of the territories. In 1803, the British took over Delhi after effectively putting down the Maratha leader. The Mughal Emperor Shah Alam was confined to the Red Fort and British exercised full authority in the name. In 1843, British successfully took over Sindh after defeating the Amirs of Sindh. And a year later, in 1849, Punjab was under the British control. Lord Dalhousie introduced the policy of doctrine of lapse and annexed 8 states in 8 years. The Hindu law recognized that an adopted son could succeed to the throne, but Dalhousie's policy was that if a Hindu ruler died without a natural heir, the state would be taken over by the British. The policy of doctrine of lapse helped the British to extend their rule in India. The Indian rulers were annoyed and frustrated as they were losing their land. The British were introducing their new policies after invading the land, like they kept on changing the language from Persian to English, as well as they changed the medium of education. They introduced Western education system in India. Along with it, they also introduced their own religion, Christianity, in India, which was considered a threat on Indian religion. Indians were annoyed, and this led to the War of Independence. We'll be discussing War of Independence in the next video. Till then, take care. Allah Hafiz.